Now every year I do a year in review video and my next year's resolutions. And never have I ever been more excited than to do one for 2020. Now before we go into the year in review part, I think we can all agree, what the hell was that? Now, I don't have to explain to you guys, if you're watching this video now or in the future, what happened in 2020, because this is going to be a year we all remember. I wish so many times I've thought about it, of just finding a way to make a time machine and going back to me on New Year's Eve 2019, where we were all so souped for 2020. We thought this was all going to be our year, and be like, bro, don't get your hopes up. Just stay safe. That's all I'm going to tell you. I got to peace out to next year again, but don't get so excited. It ain't going to be that fun. Now, when we look at the year in review, so 2020, I think, taught us a lot of things. And I'm going to say this as a generalization because it wasn't just stuck to me this year. I think 2020 taught us a lot of never take the things that are right in front of you for granted. I've become a lot more appreciative of the family I have, to still have a majority of them. I did lose 4 relatives this year, only one related to the pandemic. Unfortunately, I've been grateful to be working through all of this, and I've been grateful to kind of be healthy during this, and we're going to go into that. But living alone has been rough during this pandemic, and I didn't realize just how out there my anxiety would become at certain points, because I think I'm someone who I need face-to-face interaction. I need to be around people because all of my life I have. Now, I moved out last year from my parents' house, so this year was legit a test. It was one of those moments where if I knew this was going to be happening in 2019, I would have stayed home an extra year or two, just because I would have had, face-to-face interaction. I would have been around people all the time, because this is the first year of my life where, on a normal day's basis, I wouldn't have seen anyone for up to 48 hours, 72 hours at a time, unless I went out of the house. My job is mostly being on the phone, so it's great to hear voices, but there's a certain connection I think us humans need for, seeing physically people. I could listen to music all the time, and that's almost like the same thing as being on the phone in that sense. I know I've done a lot of research on it, and many people are going through the same feelings of that. So you're not alone. If you are, look at me. And also look at me. My hair is a little bit of a mess. I just got out of the shower to do this video. I got another new mattress today because we'll go into that. So we look at the year in review, and this was one of those first years I think that us as humans had to really go back to the basic instincts of survival, because as we all know, for so many sicknesses that we get normally, like the flu, colds, bronchitis, stuff like that, there's always been a cure for us to get better real quick. So this was the first year that we had a disease that was so common out there that there wasn't a cure for. There wasn't a vaccine for. So we had to go back to those basic survival instincts to make sure we stayed safe, to make sure we were protected, and for a lot of us, not leave the house at times at a point because of just fear and safety. The beginning of the pandemic happened right around my birthday, and I mentioned in my previous videos that I felt almost relieved at first because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do for my birthday. So I was like, oh, this gives me time to think of more plans for when this is all over in a month. Little did we know 9 months later, we're still here. So let's try to get away from the negatives for a little bit, and let me play it out for you of how 2020 went for me. So at the beginning of the year, January and February, I was on my fitness journey. I was determined to be in the best shape of my life, and I was getting there. I was fantastic in the beginning of the year, and then around March, I started having these weird health issues, with weird deep breathing, yawning all the time. I went to the doctor, got tested, everything came back fine, and they kind of assumed that it was just my anxiety acting up, which it very well could have been. As time has gone on, I've gotten better. I've developed other things, which is probably anxiety based, but those initial symptoms are gone now, so they're probably right in that sense, as much as I wanted to deny it for the longest time. Um, and then, it became the point where we're all working from home. And at first, I looked at it as a blessing because, I got to avoid traffic. I got to, wake up 10 minutes before my shift and eat all the time and, just feel like I was almost on a weird vacation, right? Until the July hit when the summer was coming out. And in July, I got my floors done in my living room, which is great. I got a new mattress in May, which is the one I just replaced because I think it's effing with my sleep. I think it was too firm, so I got like a more plushier mattress at this point to help me out in that sense. But I think a lot of my anxiety started in the summer because I think a part of me realized how nice it was outside and how much I wanted to do stuff, but technically I couldn't because a lot of stuff still wasn't open and a lot of my friends were still very apprehensive of going outside. So I guess you could say frustrated, depressed that I wasn't, enjoying summer. As much as I understood what the world was like, I don't think my body understood, if that makes any type of sense. I've realized this year I have a weird disconnect between body, mind, and soul that I'm working on getting back so we can all feel the same thing at the same time instead of, wanting to do so much, but then realizing, oh, we can't. And, it was an internal battle that I'm sure many of us went through at different points this year. Now, I met a lot of awesome people this year through like social interaction, through Facebook and like Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that. I want to shout out all of them. I've also reconnected with a lot of friends from my past, which that's a blessing in itself, to be able to welcome so many people into my life and back into my life, as well as obviously appreciating everything the people that have been in my life have done has been great during this pandemic, because as much as it hasn't been the face-to-face social interaction, I notice like when I get off the phone talking to friends, if I'm feeling anxious or something, I just feel normal. Like, I feel so much better. And I think to me that proves a little bit of it might just be all anxiety that's bothering me. I want those social connections. And humans are social people, so it's completely understandable. But it's a fight at the same time at points. So July I got the floors done. August I had my third relative at the time pass away. So, and that was right in the beginning of my vacation week. So instead of having like 11 days off like I wanted, I just had so much family stuff to attend to, whether it was like, repast and this and that, and just kind of being depressed. So this year I had two vacations that I really feel like weren't vacations. I just, in a way, had a lot of things I had to get done during that time. So I'm like running on empty at this point, like probably a lot of us are. So, September hit, we're going back into fall, and I started feeling a little bit better when the gyms opened, because a lot of, me this year was the fitness journey. So, when the gyms closed, I was like, yo, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm trying to get all this done for myself, and it wasn't really real to me. Well, it was real to me. I was afraid going back to last year. I remember sitting watching the ball drop thinking, I hope this pandemic or this disease doesn't come to the United States. And everyone told me to stop worrying, stop this. And I was like, no, I really have a bad feeling about this. And, it came, it did what it did, and we're still here. So I think, that kind of derailed me, and that kind of added a little bit to the depression, to the little bit of the apprehensiveness, because everything I wanted to get done this year, couldn't do. I wanted to go to London. Nope. I wanted to, get in the best shape of my life, which I kind of still could have done, so it's a little bit on me, but that gym atmosphere, I think, just pushes me a little bit harder than I would push myself at home. At home, I pretty much would work out just to maintain, not to gain, or lose, because I'm trying to drop fat. But, I am in a lot better shape physically than I was last year. Like, I did on my Facebook a comparison picture of me by my Christmas tree this year and last year, and holy cannoli, I look like a whole different person. Last year, my face was so bloated. I looked out of it. You could watch my videos from last year, and you could just see how effed up I looked. Because at that point, I was at a point where I had just moved out. I was trying to enjoy life. I was enjoying life, but not taking care of myself at the same time. And this year was that year that I was really, really hoping to take care of myself. And in a lot of aspects, I did. I think a lot of also what I had to learn to do this year was face a lot of things that I was able to drown out in the past by always being around people. So, a lot of things that had been bothering me, a lot of things, in life that bothered me, a lot of things about myself that bothered me that I wanted to work on, were all like head on with me, and they were all things that I had to obviously just face. So, let's get back to the timeline. So, November hit, which is, a month ago. See, the thing is, like, I wish I could say I did so many more eventful things this year, but literally, mentally, I'm still in May. Like, it's weird that we're here today, on December 31st, 2020, a day a lot of us thought would never come. Like, obviously it would come, but mentally it just felt like it wouldn't. And, mentally I'm in May still, because every day since March has been kind of the same day, minus the seasons changing. It's, hey, stay home, don't go anywhere. If you do, make sure it's quick, and it's only for essential things, and it's just been mentally draining at this point. It definitely has. So I started going to the chiropractor over the summer as well, because sitting all day, every day, it ain't good for your back, it ain't good for your health, and I think that's been part of my problem this year, because at certain points I just haven't felt like myself, and I'm hoping, going forward, that's going to probably be one of the resolutions I mentioned, that I get everything back in order. But, one of the greatest things that happened for me this year was my aunt's yearly Christmas party, I'm going to say, because that's been a tradition for me since I was a kid, since I was like 2 or 3 years old, and that was only last week, literally 7 days ago as the moment I'm recording, but it was one of those moments where it's kind of anxious as I felt, just seeing everyone that I have seen year after year that I haven't seen in 365 days for a lot of them, literally felt so good. Like, it was able to take me out of 2020 for a moment and bring me back to I don't want to say bring me back to reality, but bring me back to normal, because it was that humbling feeling of, hey, yeah, okay, we're all still here, we're surviving, we're here, this is family, like, and I've become so grateful for my family during this time. So many things they've done for me during this pandemic, whether it was, when I was feeling stressed or depressed, they were always there for me. My mom, my dad in particular, a lot of my friends were there for me during this time. A lot of people that I had just met this year were 100% there for me, and I think that shows the goodness and the hearts of so many people out there when we're all forced to kind of get out of our own zone and, in a way, just be there for the safety of each other. And I'm so grateful for that, and I'm happy that, I know I've been able to reciprocate that back to the people who reach out to me who need that. And I think being there for each other during this time is the greatest gift that we could give each other. My mom kept asking me what I wanted for Christmas this year, and I was like, yeah, I just want you guys all to be here. Like, that was the greatest gift I needed. I need my family, I need my friends, and I realized during this time, like, how much I might have taken them for granted in the past, being, as Glenn as I am, and this year was that year that brought me to that realization. I think when I look at the year in review, this year was a year, I think, as shitty as it is to say, I think it was a year that many of us needed to happen, for personal growth, for personal acknowledgement, to kind of break us out of certain things that we were doing and making us literally go back to basics. And I'd say, to a T, we had to go back to that basic survival instinct, and we had to kind of stop thinking we were untouchable for a while. We had to go back to basics. We had to face ourselves a lot of the days, how we were going to survive, how we were going to do this. You had to make the game plan instead of just going out and doing it, and you had to be smart about what you were doing, who you were surrounding yourself with, protecting yourself. This is a year that none of us expected. We were all so excited for this year, and it was just a wild year. I'm so happy that it's over, but just because it's over doesn't mean, it ends tonight at midnight. No, because there's still a little bit of a battle we're going to have to go through going forward, a little bit of a journey we have to go through going forward. But, I'm fortunate that I am now getting over being sick. You guys haven't seen me for the last couple weeks. That's because I was sick. Luckily, it wasn't COVID. Let's go into the story. So, I had a friend that texted me one night who I had hung out with a week before. They ended up testing positive for COVID. And I was like, well, thanks for telling me. But damn, So the next day I got tested, obviously. Weirdest test I've ever had in my life, having that thing shoved up my nose. I did the rapid test and I did the PCR test. Both came back negative. Awesome. No COVID. But literally, the day after I got the test, I started feeling like complete trash. My stomach was just exploding, like killing itself. Like, it was weird because it was just very bubbly and bloated, and I wasn't hungry. I wasn't feeling hungry, but it was making the sounds as if I was hungry, and it was weird. I wasn't throwing up or anything. It was just a weird, like, stomach bug, and I also started having sinus issues. So naturally, I got a little scared, but I think it's a combination of two things, because a lot of the symptoms I searched up, didn't really have any of them, had no fever, had no cough, had no anything, just my sinuses were on fire and my stomach wanted to, shoot itself in the face. But I think I figured out the root of the stomach issue because I had eggnog the day before. It was the day I took the COVID test. I came home, had some eggnog, only for the next day when my stomach was killing itself. I looked at everything I ate from the day before, realized the eggnog was about 2 to 3 weeks expired. Still tasted fine, but bad dairy will do that to you. Right now my stomach is basically kind of back to normal. Little weird things here and there, but I feel a lot better than I did. And the sinus stuff, I swear someone in that line gave me a sinus infection who probably was getting tested because they thought they had COVID. And I don't know who it was, but standing in that line, obviously you're walking through the same air as everyone as you're going in, and yeah, but my sinuses for the most part feel a lot better. I was lucky enough that I was tired a lot, but I'm always tired when I'm sick. And I think I was running myself into the ground. I think a lot of, my anxiety came this year from always feeling like I had to do something, right? Like I would work, and after work I would immediately go into something else. And, during lunch I would try to get so much done around the house. So I was always kind of in go mode, right? Where, I didn't have those cool down periods that I would have had on like a regular work day, the lunch break where I would get away from everything and just hang out with people. And then, I'd have that cool down period where driving home, being stuck in traffic, it allowed you to physically slow down because you had to just sit in traffic, listen to music, relax a little bit, chill out, forget about the day. And then I would come home, make dinner, play an hour of video games and this and that. And video games, in a way, have been something that I've kind of lost touch with this year. Like, I've played so many of them, I've beaten so many of them, but they're not really as entertaining as they were going into the year, and it's probably because I've developed a huge backlog. I think going into this year I had maybe 40 games, we'll say, and now I'm at over 100 to play. So I definitely set myself up for failure there, but I did get a PS5, so that's kind of a cool thing for this year in review. I dyed my hair, as you guys know, and I'm hoping to maybe keep this going forward. But that's really been my 2020 without getting into too many personal details. It's been a rough year for me and for all of us in general. I think 2020 was a year that even if the pandemic wasn't a thing, it was going to be a shit year anyway, because I look at my life and all the things that happened. Even if you take the pandemic factor out, it was set up for failure. It wasn't going to be a good year. And I've noticed I've developed a lot of, I think, coping mechanisms, you can call them, that basically bring me back to my childhood in a weird way, because a lot of things that I've learned to overcome throughout the years, I think from being isolated so long, those traits are kind of reverting back. Around the same time my anxiety started acting up back in July, I started having weird dreams, but weird, like, not weird dreams, but weird dreams of like normal daily things that I think my body and my mind is just missing. Like, waking up, making lunch, going to work, like going to do my laundry, stuff like that, like, and nothing weird would happen in the dream. It was like legit a normal instance. And I think from what I've been reading is it's your mind trying to find the way to bring normalcy into your brain without actually having it, which ain't it crazy the way the brain works, right? But at the same time too, like, I know I've developed social anxiety as well again, where I was always great for the last 10 years being around big groups of people, to the other week when I went to Trader Joe's, I felt like nervous that there were so many people there. And I was like, what? I was like, why am I feeling like I'm having anxiety when I've done this so much, you know? And usually when I've gone food shopping, I've gone at times where there's not a lot of people. So I think being around so many people and not really having anyone that was there with me that I knew, it took me out of the comfort zone, which is weird for me. And then also, as you guys have noticed, I've developed a lot like when I was a kid, talking nonstop. I had to learn how to stop talking as I grew up. When I was a kid, all my report cards were always like, Len's a great student, but he talks too damn much. And I think you guys have noticed that through the videos I've put out. I went from doing 5-6 minute videos to doing like 20-30 minute videos, only because I think I have a lot to say now and I haven't had anyone to say it to, you know. So you guys, I appreciate you all for being there. So, you know, that's 2020. A lot of things that literally, I think, because we had to become so primitive again, you lose a lot of personality traits, I think, that you've developed over time, and you go back to just being the basic form of you in certain ways. You know, I've had moments where I have to ask myself why I'm acting the way I'm acting, because I'm acting like a child at points, where, you know, the instinct kicks in, but then, you know, I think the realization of knowing just, you know, the sanity of your brain, you're just kind of like, bro, stop. Like, I've had to become my own supervisor during this time at certain points, which I guess that's a good thing, right? It's a learn of self-control again, but it's been weird. I'm happy to know, like, I've talked to people, I've read things, and a lot of people are going through the same things, and it comes down to living alone probably, where I don't have that full-on routine, full-on stabilization anymore. But that's where we're going to go into the resolutions now. So with 2021 coming up, one of the greatest resolutions I hope to have is getting everything back to normal. Now, granted, in a way that's an unrealistic resolution because I have no control over that. I have control of getting myself back into a routine, get myself kind of back to normal, but I need the world back to normal like many of us do. And it's just going to be a matter of beating this pandemic to the ground. So when it comes to personal resolutions, we are getting ourselves, me, back in shape 100%, and I've started that the last week after starting to feel better from getting sick. Because that was a very scary period for me, where for the first couple days, first week, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just felt off, I felt weird, I felt exhausted, beat up. Maybe it was the holiday anxiousness, you know. So, you know, that's already kind of started. I'm eating healthier again, I'm getting back everything. I'm on the road to 165 to try to get back to that, because that's what I think I desperately need. So, aside from that, what we want to do, I think, is start to work out, you know, that social anxiety that I've developed, kind of become me again, get past all of this BS, and just kind of focus back on doing things that are good for me, doing things that are great for my mental health, being more appreciative to everything, and, you know, giving back to those less fortunate, like charities and all that, if, you know, the opportunity arises, if we start having big events again. You know, I'm hoping to go for my yearly physical soon, if able, to kind of see where I'm at, what this pandemic has done to me physical-wise, because I've definitely fallen off from where I would have been in January. I'm kind of finally getting back to where I need to be. My cardio, at least, had been good before I started feeling like and stopped going to the gym for those couple weeks, only because I didn't have, like, the the strength in a weird way to go. But I did a workout today for the first time in forever, and it was fantastic. I felt great. And I'm just working on getting my body back going. You know, there's so many like kinks I think I have right now that I just need to work out. Not kinks like that, you weirdos, but you know, buying that new mattress, I think, because it's going to be more plush, it's going to help me out. I'm hoping this year I can get through all of my games. I don't want to buy, I got the PS5, I don't own any PS5 games, but I've been playing PS4 games on it, and I just really want to get through all of those before I buy anything else. That's going to be a matter of self-control, and I say it like I'm going to be forced to buy something else, but I know how I am. So, other things I want to get done this year is I want to start saving up for a house. You know, the condo's been great for the year and a half I've lived here, but it's not great when you're here all the time. I think I've started to feel a little confined. I think, you know, I would have loved a yard during this time, but that's gonna be like the end goal of this year, I believe, because the first thing I'm working on doing money-wise is I want to pay off the floors I bought, which I can probably have that done by March. That's gonna be the first check mark off. Then I want to pay off my student loans. So that's gonna be an interesting one, because that's going to come down to whether or not they pass anything in the government to lower student loans, and if they do, like they said they're going to do, or hopeful that they're going to do, I'm going to be able to do it, which that's going to be fan-flippin-tastic, right? So once those two things are done, then we're saving up for that down payment for the house. It's the end goal, and I want to have that done hopefully by the time I'm 30, 31, maybe move out by 32. One of my biggest resolutions every year is to buy back my childhood home. It's not for sale. I don't know if it's ever going to be for sale, but if I become rich, I'm going to give them an offer they can't refuse, and it's mine again, right? That's the hope. So other things I want to do, I want to get back in shape, like I mentioned, beat these games, pay off the debt. I really hope the world becomes safe so I can travel, so I can actually go to London this year. I want to experience that, or Canada sometime soon. I want to hopefully find a girlfriend this year. You know, I'm at the point where I'm ready to have that companionship, and I think that's one thing the pandemic has taught me, that I'm a very, very lonely person at times. I have friends, I have family, but, you know, not seeing people on a day-to-day basis, that's a rough patch, you know. That's why I think from all the jobs I've had from living at home, I always had some kind of facial interaction, you know, daily. And, you know, you drive yourself crazy not having people around, and you need to just have those moments of joy and happiness and appreciating having the company. You know, I was ready to get away from people when the pandemic happened, just because I was just kind of fed up with, like, people, and I was, you know, always around them. And then after recharging my batteries a little bit, I was like, yeah, I miss people. I miss having friends. I miss going out and doing stuff, but it is what it is, you know. And I look at it in a way of 2021 permitting is going to be a year where, after taking everything into perspective this year, after learning to appreciate everything that was, you know, taken for granted, I think, from the get-go, to the simple instance of going outside, right, and going to a park, to go hiking, which were closed off, to going to the mall, to, you know, to all we had were supermarkets and pharmacies and hospitals for the longest time. You know, going to the gym, I was so in love with the gym right before the pandemic happened. To the first day it opened back up, I was back in there, and now I'm going to be back in there Saturday because I know I'm going to be feeling 100% again. And I need to take this year and, you know, take what I learned from 2020 and destroy 2021 before it allows itself to destroy us. That's one of the things. I think we've all become soldiers, we've all become warriors during this time, because we had to learn to fight for ourselves a little bit more. We had to learn to stay afloat. We had to learn to keep going, keep being there for our families, being there for our friends, but at the same time having to be there for ourselves in a way. This year is definitely a year that I know so many of us want to drown out, but I think in a way it's made us stronger, it's shaped us. In 2021, I hope, is a brighter horizon. You know, we look back a year ago and wonder everything we had planned and just how much things changed so quickly. Every day has been the same day since March 16th here in New Jersey, basically. And every day has been filled with fear, with fright, with making it tough to live our lives because you never know what's going to happen. And I think during this time, it's important to be grateful for everything we still have as the year ends and going forward. Always tell your family you love them. Always tell your friends you love them as much as they might not want to hear it. And always just be grateful for, the minimalistic things we have. Everyone could always want more. Everyone could always be hungry for more. But to just have a roof over your head, to have a job, and to just have family around you is really the basic necessities of what we need. And food, obviously, food and air and water. So many of us, not me, but I know so many friends that were laid off for 6 months before they can go back to work, and they struggled because they wanted to do stuff and they had no actual money to do stuff, which that's a lot worse than what I had. I was lucky enough to work during this time, and I just couldn't do stuff. So I look at myself as being a little selfish during that time. But I told all of them, I was like, look, if we can find something to do, it's on me. I need to get out. I need to see people. I always am the person that I'll take care of my friends during anything. That's just how I was raised. I was raised to be grateful for the people that are there for you and to always take care of the people that you care about and to take care of strangers. Because at the end of the day, I've always been someone who, I'm lucky enough for the life I have. And it hasn't always been sunshine and roses, but there's always someone that's going to be worse off than you. And I think as humans, we need to build each other up. We need to bring each other together for family. Because at the end of the day, the human race is a family. We're all cut from the basic genetic cloth. As much as our ancestry may be different, we are all family at the end of the day. In my opinion, that's how I've always looked at it. I will work with a complete stranger to bring their life together the same way I would work with my brother or sisters. No one deserves to suffer in life. No one deserves to have a bad life. And I think that's why we need to be unified and work together, because we're all in this together at the end of the day. And going into 2021, I want to be able to help those people again, permitting, whether it's soup kitchens, whether it's charity drives, clothing drives, things like that. Just bring everyone back together. United we stand, So, in conclusion, we're finally going to cut this off, as much as it's been 30 minutes now. 2020, absolute shit show. We all know that. But by knowing that is where we can make 2021 maybe one of the most prosperous years we've had. Because I think, like I said earlier, we took for granted a lot of things that we just always assumed that we're going to be there. Going outside, going food shopping, not wearing masks, family, friends, jobs, work, travel, things that we just assumed we'd always be able to do. And I think by being humbled by 2020, we can all be better people in 2021, and together we can overcome everything and get back to a certain level of normalcy. And I believe that's going to be a big, big thing. And I think it's going to be an amazing thing. So, with that being said, I want to wish everyone their greatest New Year's resolutions. I want to wish everyone an awesome time. And I want to believe that 2021, we could all do things better than we did now, and that we're going to get stronger next year. Bless you all. Stay safe. Stay strong. We're going to get through this together. Have a good New Year's. I'll see you in 2021.